Hello, class, and welcome to our last day of our first week of e-learning here. All right. You guys have done a nice job this week. I know all your teachers have thrown a lot of different technology and different resources that you use. We all appreciate you guys working so hard from home. All right. So today I'm actually going to switch things up a little bit. I did on the original agenda have that we were going to talk about factoring trinomials today. I think we're going to table that and set that up for Monday. All right, so today I kind of want to make a kind of a review day of the last 2 days that we've learned here. Just kind of going over some of those skills of finding that GCF or greatest common factor and also factoring with that GCF. All right, because we really got to nail down these two skills in order to move on here for next week. All right, so we are going to find the GCF. All right, again, I would print this document out if you have access to a printer and follow along. All right, if you don't have access to the printer, all right, then make sure that you get out a sheet of paper and pencil or pen and kind of follow along as we go through here. All right, and remember that you can pause the video at any time if I'm going a little too fast here. All right, so you can catch up and kind of follow along that way. All right, so we're going to find the GCF first. All right, so we have some terms. We have two terms, 18 and 30, right? And we're asked to find that GCF. All right, and if you recall, we have that factors chart in Schoology, right? So make sure that you reference this factors chart here. All right, that's going to be in our e-learning materials here under week 1. Right, here's that factors chart. Okay, so make sure that you reference this factor chart if you're not, if you don't know all your factors of certain numbers, right? And I don't expect you to have them all memorized, all right? But you have this resource here at your disposal to use. All right, so back to our review here. All right, so 18 and 30, all right? So we had to find the factors of 18 first, right? And remember, we want to stick them, keep them in order, right? And kind of keep working outside, and then we get in here, all right? So we have 1 times 18 is 18. We have 2 times 9 is 18. And we have 3 times 6, which is 18, all right? So we have 6 factors for the number 18. All right, so we're going to do the same thing for number 30 here. All right, so we have 1 times 30. All right, we have 2 times 15. We have 3 times 10. And we have 5 times 6. All right, again, after we list out all our factors in order, right, be sure to circle that GCF, all right? And by circling it, it's going to give us a better visual to find our GCF. All right, so now we see here, right, we find the greatest number in common, right? I see 2, I see 3, 5, oh, I see a couple 6s here. It looks like 6 is going to be my greatest common factor, right? So I'm going to go ahead and circle that GCF, all right? And then we're going to put it up here in our line, right? So number 6 is the greatest common factor of 18 and 30. All right, so let's scroll down here to example number 2. All right, so example 2, we have to find the GCF of 3x to the 4th and 12x squared. All right, well, let me just switch colors back here. All right, so let's first find those factors of 3x to the 4th, right? And if you recall from the previous notes here video, we want to list all those x terms first, right? So x to the 4th means I have 4 x's, right? And my factors of 3, I just have 2 factors of 3, right? It's just 1 times 3. All right, and then now I get to find my factors of 12x squared. Again, I want to list out my x's first. So I have 2 x's there. And now I have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. All right, so now that I've listed out all my factors here, now I want to find the greatest thing in common between both now my numbers and my letters. All right, again, we should circle both our numbers and letters for our GCF so we have a visual here. Okay, so it looks like between my numbers, it looks like they both have a 3 in common. All right, and it looks like they have 1x and 2 x's in common. All right, so to write the 3 with the 2 x's, right, remember it's going to be 3 3x to the second power. So that would be my GCF of 3x to the fourth and 12x squared, or 12x to the second power. Awesome. All right. So we found the GCF. Now we're going to actually do some factoring now again. All right. So let me scroll my page down here or up. All right, so now we're going to factor using the GCF. All right, and remember this idea of factoring is going to be kind of a reverse or inverse of distributing here. All right, but first we always have to start by finding the GCF. All right, so our directions say factor the following expressions completely by finding the GCF. All right, so we have 6x squared, means I have 2 x's. It means I have 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. And for 24x, I have 1x, and then I have 1 times 24. We have 2 times 12. We have 3 times 8, and we have 4 times 6. All right, so 24x had, as you can see, lots of factors here. All right, and sometimes some of our problems have that, right? Sometimes there are not as many. All right, so now that we listed out all our factors, all right, now we want to find that GCF. All right, again, we want to find the GCF of a number and of a variable if it has it. All right, so now we look at our numbers. All right, well, looks like 6 is going to be the greatest number in common. All right, and again, I'm going to circle that I have 2 x's in common, right? They each have 1 x in common, I should say. All right, so that means my GCF is 6x. Okay. So now that I found my GCF, I'm not done with this problem because I'm asked to factor now. All right. So now to find my factored solution, right, my GCF will always go out in front of my parentheses. All right. So now I have to ask myself, okay, how do I go from 6x back to 6x squared, right? That is my problem, 6x squared plus 24x. So again, factor means I got to break that down. All right, so I'm pulling out the 6x. All right, so 6 times what will give me back to 6? Well, 6's partner was 1, right? So, and again, if it's just 1, I don't really need to write it down. All right, but you can if you want, right? And as you can see, after I circled, I know that these x's are used up, so that means I have 1x left over. All right, and now I'm going to do the same thing for 24x, right? If I pull out this 6 here, right? 6 times what gives me 24? Well, 6's partner was 4. All right, and I used up this x, so that means I can't put it back in, right? And remember, I can always check my work, all right, by doing distributing, right? I can ask myself, okay, well, 6x times 1x, well, that gives me 6x squared. And 6x times 4 gives me 24x. Right, and that plus sign just drops down. And look, I'm back at my original problem, right? So I know I had the right answer. All right, let's look at example number 4 here. So example 4, we have 18x plus 45. All right, well, let me switch colors back up here. Let's back blue. All right, so 18x. Well, I have an x that's going to go out here. I have 1 times 18. I have 2 times 9. And I have 3 times 6. All right, and for the number 45, I have 1 times 45. Well, 2 doesn't go into 45. I got 3 times 15. 4 doesn't go into 5 does, right, because it ends in 5. I have 5 times 9. All right, so now that I listed out all my factors, now I have to find my greatest common factor of both my numbers and letters. All right, so first I'm going to look for my numbers. Well, 9 is definitely the biggest number in common. All right, 18x has an x, but 45 does not. So I can't use an x as my GCF. So my GCF is just going to be 9. All right, so now I'm ready to factor my problem because I found my GCF. All right, so my GCF goes in front of my parentheses. All right, so now my first term goes here, but I have to take out this 9 from that first term. All right, so if I take out a 9 from 18x, Well, 9 times that 2 gives me 18, right? And I have this x left over, so that needs to stay in my parentheses. All right, and now to fill in my second spot here for my second term, right? That means 9 times what gives me 45? Well, 9's partner was 5, right? So that means that 5 needs to go back here. All right. And if this seems kind of confusing, it is. All right, it takes a little practice. All right, so hopefully with today's review, we'll be all good to go here after today, right? And again, another quick way that you can find the partner of whatever number, right, is on this factor chart here. Okay, so if we found that number 45, right, which is down here on the bottom, right, I can see that 9 and 5 are the partners, right? So if I pull out the 9, that means I got to use that 5. All right. Moving on. All right, we got our last problem here. And then after this, like I said, there'll be some sort of, I got a review activity lined up for you, a little quizzes review, all right? It is Friday, which is usually like a quizzes or Kahoot day. So after this, you guys can take that quizzes and practice using that quizzes on both of these skills, all right? All right, so we got 10x to the third plus 8x squared plus 4x. All right, so we're going to list out these factors of all our terms, right? We have an x, we have an x, we have an x, because it's x to the third. We have 1 times 10, and we have 2 times 5. And let me fix that too. Here we go. All right, so for 8x to the second power, or 8x squared, right, we have 2 x's. We have 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. And now for 4x, well, we have what x? We have 1 times 4, and we have 2 times 2. All right, so I listed out all my factors, and now I have to find the greatest common factor of my numbers and of my letters if I have it. All right, so it looks like, well, these two have a 4, but that doesn't have a 4. All right, so now, they all have this 2 in common. All right, so I know my GCF is going to be at least a 2. All right, and again, using these circles are going to be very helpful, and you'll see here in a minute, right? So, okay, this has 3 x's, 2 x's. Oh, this has an x, x, and an x. So they all have 1 x in common, right? These two have 2 x's in common, but they have to be in common for all 3 terms for it to be a GCF. All right, so I only have 1 x in common. So now my GCF goes out in front. And now I'm ready to fill in the rest of my parentheses here. All right, again, I have 1, 2, 3 terms from my 1, 2, 3 terms of my original problem. All right, so now 2x times what will give me back to my 10x to the third? Well, 2's partner is 5, right? Because 2 times 5 gives me 10. And I have these 2 extra x's, right? The ones that are not circled are going to go back into my parentheses here. So it's 5x squared. All right. Now I have to get back to 8x squared after pulling out a 2x. Well, to get back to 8, it's going to be 2 times 4. So my 4 is going to go back in my parentheses. And again, I have this extra x that is going to go back here. All right. And then this last part here, I got one more to fill in, right? I got to take out 2's partner to get to 4. Well, 2 times 2 gave me that 4. So that's going to be a 2 here, right? This x is used up because I circled it as part of my GCF, so I don't have any x's to go back. So for this last spot here, it's just going to be the number 2. All right, and again, you can always check these over just by distributing out your problem, right? You get 10x to the third plus 8x to the second plus 4x. That looks like this one, right? So I know I have the right answer. All right. All right. So you guys are ready to kind of review on your own with some quizzes.